Chapter 111 to 112. The Hokage was standing above a table with a huge map of the northern shores of the Land of Fire, loudly banging his fist onto the table with passion as he explained his tactics and asked the other men in the tent about their opinion. Around him, his most trusted aides and the most powerful ninjas from Konoha that he could afford to relieve from their previous posts listened with rapt attention, occasionally giving their own 2 cents to the battle plans. Hiruzen felt drained. The town of Tanara was supposedly heavily harassed by pranks of all things, and he could not dispatch anyone with the current situation, so their disposable weapon supply suffered. Worse yet, the economy around Tanara was collapsing and many people already moved out. The daimyo demanded something to be done about it because Tanara mines were the only place with chakra metal, therefore very profitable for the country. But when Hiruzen was about to send Jiraiya to Tanara to find and skin alive anyone causing trouble there during wartime with pointless pranks, the Toad Sage appeared very pensive and troubled. Apparently, the warning from Tsunade was real and Konoha now had to protect the Land of Fire from the biggest invasion to their lands since the First Shinobi War. Oh joy! In the end, nobody was sent to Tanara. Another problem was to find out who to send to defend against the Kiri invasion. When Jiraiya told him the estimated numbers of Kiri ninjas, Hiruzen quickly decided to take a more hands-on approach and go himself, dragging a lot of strong ninjas from their posts from the Kumo front or grass front. Even the outposts closest to the Land of Wind were almost emptied, leaving only 20% of its occupants as the others were ordered to one by one relocate towards the new makeshift camp close to the northern shores of the Land of Fire while being discreet about it. The gathering of Konoha forces commenced, and if Jiraiya's estimate was to be trusted, Hiruzen was still facing a situation where Konoha was outnumbered 1 to 4 Kiri ninjas, which led Hiruzen to the current situation. He furiously hammered his fist onto the poor innocent table as his eyes sparkled with fury, while he was sweeping the uncomfortable and nervous people around him with his piercing glare. "What do you mean? Tsunade is not coming, Jiraiya?" Hiruzen bellowed, causing some less experienced ninjas in the command tent to take a step back from the intensity of his voice. Hiruzen, while glad he still had it in him and was capable of making even someone as strong as Jiraiya squirm like a little genin, was utterly furious at what he just heard. "Sensei, you see," pale-faced Jiraiya unsurely tried to explain, but Hiruzen interrupted him by grabbing the note he was clutching in his hands as if his life depended on it. Hiruzen looked at it and started reading out loud. "Yo, old monkey." Just from that bit he knew he would not like what would follow. The only time Tsunade called him old monkey was when she was angry with him or trying to use it as a form of endearment to borrow some money from him. Just the thought sent chills run down his spine as he subconsciously straightened up with a gulp, his anger quickly forgotten. "You would not believe what happened." Hiruzen frowned. "I, the head of Konoha Hospital, found an order to leave Konoha Hospital. I have really no idea what kind of idiot could sanction something like that. Honesty." He could almost feel Tsunade's fake disappointment and mockery of her tone as he read her message. Many people in the command tent shuffled at that, not knowing what to do as they knew it was the council and the Hokage who wrote that order. What Tsunade did was incredible disrespect towards them. "So, just thought I will let you know I am not coming. Cheers." Hiruzen raised his eyes from the letter from Tsunade and his frosty eyes trailed over the form of every single council member who was in attendance. "You did not tell her directly?" he asked quietly, but his voice started rising. "You sent a fucking order? To someone like Tsunade? Are the heads of you dipshits completely empty or what?" Hiruzen panted harshly. For 2 weeks he was stuck in this camp to give orders and organize defense against Kiri forces, leaving the village in the hands of the council. They were supposed to persuade Tsunade, meaning giving her some incentive to join rather than flat-out ordering her. He knew his apprentice and that never worked well. And yet, his esteemed council did precisely that, and Tsunade decided to blow her gasket by saying proverbial "fuck you." As disappointed as that simple fact made him, Hiruzen understood Tsunade's actions as she was treated somewhat coldly by Konoha's higher-ups as of late. Suddenly, one newer ninja, barely a boy who just reached Chunin rank thanks to his ability to survive during the war, timidly raised his hand, making Hiruzen nod at him in a sign he can speak. "Lord Third, isn't Tsunade-sama still a ninja from Konoha, therefore bound to follow orders? Isn't justice on the side of the council?" Hiruzen just stared at the fool. "You naive idiot," he groaned, tired of it all. Tired of the war, of the general stupidity he had to deal with each day, of being attacked from every side. "Can you even imagine what kind of influence Tsunade has? Do you really think I could force her, you fool?" He drawled irritably, causing the new Chunin to show a disgruntled expression. But no, Tsunade is no longer a Konoha ninja since she left after the Second War. She is officially retired and effectively a clan head of the Senju clan. That makes me unable to call her back to duty from her retirement, as retired clan heads have certain privileges. Hiruzen explained patiently, showing that his title of professor was quite fitting. "Sensei, I think you should look at the other side of the letter." Jiraiya suddenly spoke with a wince. Hiruzen narrowed his eyes and did so, finding a reference for a page in the newest edition of the bingo book which made him quite baffled. Before he could ask, however, Jiraiya just handed him a small black book. Tsunade sent it alongside her letter. He added. Hiruzen browsed through the book until he found the page Tsunade referenced and instantly paled a new shade of white as he saw something he never thought possible in his long life of strife. Something that made fear creep into his heart and shook him to his core. Something even the fabled Hiruzen Sarutobi didn't expect. May of Kiri. Affiliation. Kiri, rank unknown. Team Downpour 3rd member. Prowess, SS rank. Bounty 250 million Ryo, Awagakure, preferably dead. Strength, steam-based bloodline, good at taijutsu and weaponry, exceptional reaction time, and superb chakra sensory abilities. Info. A new team member of Team Downpour who single-handedly wiped out 10,000-strong force gathered by Awagakure to deal with the Team Downpour, leaving only a single survivor. An SS rank. Hiruzen said reverently as he remembered the feats of his teacher and Hashirama Senju. Child soldiers were a common sight on the battlefield, but to think a girl of 13 could get SS ranking, Hiruzen was utterly speechless and could only hope the girl was far away from the soon-to-be battle between Konoha and Kiri. Inwardly, Hiruzen was very grateful for the heads-up from Tsunade as his eyes hardened. Kid or not, I will not hesitate if she shows up. Honestly, if she knew his thought process, she would just roll her eyes at him in exasperation. Nevertheless, the name May of Kiri started to spread through the world like fire through the woods. A new SS rank, the first one in more than half a century, was finally born, sending chills through the collective spines of many higher-ups of many villages. Ray could only snicker at the thought that it was actually May, his youngest apprentice, who attained such a rank even before him. The third Mizukage was staring at his new, opened bingo book with his mouth opened in disbelief as cold sweat ran down his temple at the chilling realization of what exactly seeing the new and only SS rank IWA entry into the bingo book meant. That fucker made May into SS rank ninja. He breathlessly muttered under his breath, still unable to comprehend how a 13-years-old girl can be given a rank only those like Hashirama or Madara deserved. The only reason these two titans of the shinobi world weren't ranked as such was that the bingo book was not a thing in their era. And yet, Mei Terumi, a genin from his village, was the first ever SS rank in bingo book. Oh, he knew he should probably be happy, but fuck. If Ray and Conan managed to train Mei to destroy an army of 10,000 people, then how strong must he be? I might have been severely underestimating them. The Mizukage shivered as plans were discarded and new ones were being created in his mind. What is it, dear? He suddenly heard Himeno's voice as she entered their shared cabin on the boat in which they currently sailed to the Land of Fire. The Mizukage found himself momentarily speechless, so he opted to simply hand her the bingo book without even looking at her so she could find out herself. Himeno just raised her eyebrow in surprise when she read through the page and chuckled. Well, that makes any political play a moot point, and this war suddenly got a hell of a lot more dangerous. Now we will probably be targeted just for having SS-ranked ninja, she said as her eyes narrowed at the Mizukage. You know the best and most rational thing to do here is to retreat from every front and hole up in our little island, right? Yes, the Mizukage stated blankly. From your tone, I presume we are not doing the most logical thing. Himeno rubbed her forehead in exasperation. The hidden villages are too preoccupied with killing each other that they just might do nothing about this despite the war raging on, which is giving them free rein to attack us whenever they want without giving a flying fuck about a proper reason. I mean, come on. This brings an enormous target above the entire land of water. There is a reason why most nations dispose of their most unruly S-rankers. Mei was given a rank above even that. Himeno tried to persuade the Mizukage, but when she looked at his impassive expression as he stared in front of himself with determination, she could only groan in irritation. You really sure we are not retreating? Yes. The Mizukage gave a small, almost unnoticeable nod, still not looking at her in his stubbornness. Himeno knew deep down he felt ashamed for prioritizing his revenge rather than the village, but she would not stop him. She loved the man too much to do that. Great. Himeno only sarcastically quipped before releasing an exasperated sigh. I guess I am going to check the preparations once more. Just wanted to give you heads up that our fleet will be arriving at the shores of the Land of Fire in a day, she said before storming out of the cabin. The Mizukage showed a small loving smile at her antics. Feeling heartfelt gratitude for her loyalty and never-ending patience, she showered him in. And so it finally begins. A day passed and the fleet finally arrived at its final destination. The ships were anchored a kilometer away from the shore, and the Kiri forces numbering 10,000 ninjas of all ranks were ready. The shore looked peaceful and empty. Not even the slightest sign of enemy could be spotted anywhere, so the Kiri forces jumped from the boats onto the water, dead set on walking on the water for the last kilometer of their long journey through the sea. The Mizukage himself was leading the forces with Himino running by his side towards the land. The Kiri ninjas were not vigilant. After all, none of them thought they would be attacked. The invasion was supposed to be the most guarded secret, and at this point, it was too early for a battle. Alas, the Kiri frontliners of the forces were crossing the last 100 meters of water, about to finally reach the shore when suddenly a big puff of smoke burst out from the woods a bit away from the shore, and the Kiri ninjas found stopped in their tracks from sheer bewilderment at the massive toad staring at them in amusement while smoking its pipe. The Mizukage managed to only curse under his nose before he heard, "Fire release, toad oil flame bullet." Mizukage's hands instinctively started weaving seals before he could even comprehend what was going on as the massive toad started spitting toad oil in the direction of the frontliners of the Kiri force, while a white-haired man standing on the top of the toad spat fire into the oil, igniting it. The Mizukage managed to perform a water wall in front of his forces near him, and some meager amount of satisfaction coursed through his being as he noted some of his ninjas doing the same as the water from the sea rose, creating a shield for the Kiri ninjas from the fire. Despite the wall being primarily made by the more experienced and stronger water-oriented ninjas of Kiri forces, when the flamethrower-like stream of fire from the toad impacted the water wall, sizzling noise erupted from the connection and the superheated flames started to boil the water almost instantly while making steam from the most of it. The remaining parts, however, were blasted onto the Kiri frontliners by the pressure, and whichever poor sucker who was hit started screaming bloody murder when it landed on his skin, severely burning it. Chaos instantly erupted as those people that were hit with the boiling water started thrashing around, running into ninjas around them, which started a chain reaction of people bumping into each other. Some lost concentration and stopped using water walking, falling into the water. Some just got disoriented and panicked. But the worst were those that lost focus on maintaining the water wall. As that happened, the flame stream finally breached through it, and the Mizukage could only jump back with wide eyes, out of the range of the fire stream, while watching quite a lot of his men being torched, as instead of the wall of water, an orange flame started influencing the water, making the sea in front of him boil. Only a very few ninjas in the front lines managed to avoid the flames or the fate of being boiled alive as the stream of burning oil swept through them. It was only Mizukage's chakra sensing that made him aware he just lost around 150 men, and a moment of surprise. He stood in front of his remaining few thousand men, looking at the shore beyond the wall of flames while slowly starting to regret pressing for the invasion to continue. Luckily, Himino stood next to him, panting from slight exertion and a small burn on her right forearm, but clearly alive. Despite that, the Mizukage instantly knew his plan failed. He was not about to give up though and would try to press on. Raising his hand about to give an order to use a water-style collaboration jutsu to put down the wall of fire burning on the water, separating them from the land. Suddenly a booming voice reverberated through the area. "You want to invade the land of fire? Then come and face your death." The Mizukage instantly recognized the voice of the third Hokage and paled, realizing that winning just became 100 times harder. But he had no time to consider it as a hail of sharp metal started raining on his forces. The battle of the northern shores of the land of fire started.